Charlotte speaking.
Charlotte Perez, Jonathan Masters, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm alright. I started pulling out some of these goat heads in the morning. I got stuck all over my fingers, but I guess that's not...
Ouch.
Yeah, but it's not like I'm starving on the streets or getting, beat up or anything.
You should be doing that with those gloves that they don't, that the thorns don't penetrate through the glove.
Yeah, that's true. I've been taking actually pliers. Just take pliers out there and pull them all up, but even being careful, I still get stuck with one here and there. But if I did wear gloves, that would work. So how was you went on a retreat?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Did they teach you a lot of stuff about politics, or what was the gist of it?
So it's to learn how to run a successful campaign. Because honestly, as long as you know the basics about politics, so, it's not that hard to figure out what's right and wrong. So, they just taught me how to run a successful campaign now. And they taught me how to conduct myself and just all kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you about the, I guess, a little minor controversy. There was July 4th, there was an accident. There's 2 kids that had got injured on July 4th. And recently at the city council meeting, and I didn't go to the city council, I just saw it on the website, he had mentioned, he made it sound like, he didn't say explicitly, but he kind of made it sound like you didn't really care about the well-being of his kid, and that you were criticizing him, and it didn't make any sense since you weren't running against him, and how he was just so upset about it. So I was wanting to get your take on the entire situation.
Well, that just lets me know how in touch he is with the parent and the family and his intermediate family, because I actually did tell the family that, so that lets me know that he's not in close communication with his people, because there was a little misunderstanding, and I spoke to the father directly, and I actually did tell him exactly that.
No, that's cool. So
I wished him prayers, and I wished him prayers for a fast recovery.
Yeah, cool. So you weren't saying anything about the kids directly. You want them to be okay and for them to be...
Of course. Yeah, it had nothing to do with the kid that was, injured. A lot of people in the community were bringing their concern to me that they didn't understand how he was Larry's grandchild, and Larry wasn't putting it out also that he was trying to be involved in his own grandson's recovery. A lot of people were saying that they didn't understand why this kid had a GoFundMe when his grandfather was known for taking funds that were supposed to go towards the community. And they also had mentioned how, there was like a misuse of funds. And anyways, I wanted to make it clear to the father and the rest of the family that, with what I was trying to, I guess, basically address his grandfather's involvement, had nothing to do with the actual recovery of the injured child.
Well, I don't think that you're wrong in the sense that being that he's, an elite, but then he should be more, I don't know, what about the other kid? How, I guess, compare and contrast, there's 2 kids, right? So, has the other kid, does he have a GoFundMe, and how bad are the injuries? Are they critical? Will they get out alive? How much do you know about the...
So, yeah, the other child was a lot younger, and he was actually flown to Denver because he had severe marks burn marks on his thighs and legs, and also part close to his scrotum, well, if not his scrotum as well.
Oh, wow.
And he only had, at the time that I went to go look at his GoFundMe, I believe he only had like $425 as compared to Larry's grandson, who had already a good, what, 35,000?
The other kid had 35,000 in their GoFundMe?
Yeah, it was a significant amount of money, and that's awesome because he does need, medical care as well. That's not the issue. The issue is the fact that he had an official for a grandfather, and the grandfather wasn't showing his involvement in regards to his grandson. So when he's not gonna, show his involvement or whatever, what is the community that does know more about Larry Atencio? What are they to think, when they're not showing his involvement, but yet he's having a GoFundMe and there's rumors or a history of misuse of funds, the community is going to be concerned and they are going to have questions. And maybe I shouldn't have put it on Facebook right away, and I should have spoke to the family because I found out Larry's involvement with his grandson altogether, which is actually even more sad.
Yeah.
But we did clear it all up, and I apologized. And
so the father,
for whatever I had misunderstood, and I made it right, and I also ended it with a sincere blessing for him to get better.
Right, I got you. Okay, so just to clarify, there's two kids. Which kid got the $30-something thousand GoFundMe, and then the other kid didn't? And was the one kid's injury worse than the other? Like, I don't even know who are these two kids? Do you know?
Yeah, so there's a major age difference in the kids. I believe one's a young adult, and the other one is an actual child. And the child is the one that has the severe burn on his thighs and, I believe, scrotum. And the other one, I don't really think we could really rate who was more severe, especially considering, both, I would believe, organs are very important. So an eye, as compared to a child's scrotum,
Right, yeah, I don't...
Both unfortunate, and if Larry can't call me back, so I can meet with him, since he's one of the people that had actually told me he considered running for city council. I've been giving him multiple phone calls. I've left him multiple messages, and he doesn't want to respond to me. So when the community tells me something, and I react on what I'm hearing from multiple members throughout the community, and the first thing he wants to respond to is that,
well, sometimes a hit dog will holler, so he didn't come right out and say, like, that you didn't care, but he just made it sound like there was more to it, and so I got the impression that if you were just watching city council and you walked away, but you didn't hear, what you had to say about it, then you would have got the impression that you were talking smack about the kid. Now, which one of the kids with Atencio? Which one's related to Atencio? The young adult or the child?
Yeah, the young adult.
The young adult. Well, who got more on their GoFundMe account, the young adult or the child?
The young adult. And it just was alarming to me, and who could not feel bad knowing that there was a child who was even younger that had absolutely close to nothing.
Right, no, that's what I'm worried about right now. How is that younger child doing?
Go ahead.
How is that younger child doing? What's the situation with the younger child? Because that's sort of You know, he is related to Larry Atencio. He deserves to get, you know, better. But what about this other person that's not related to Atencio? You're saying they're not getting much GoFundMe? Are they getting any help, or are they getting any, is the community backing them, or what's their story?
Yeah, the community had noticed that, like, right away. And the ones that did see and focused on the need of the other child as well, because, you know, Valdez pretty much got his amount pretty quick. It was a little bit of an alarming situation, knowing that the other one wasn't getting any attention, or so.
Yeah.
Between all the people that had noticed that and posted and stated that on his behalf that he wasn't getting anything, I believe with all the shares he was able to raise, you know, a little bit more money. And since I've been on my retreat, I haven't, you know, been able to go check his GoFundMe account yet. So I don't know where he's at right now. But I noticed that after I had made that post about the young child, he did end up getting. It looked like he was getting more money, so that was a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I wish we had single-payer health care and we wouldn't have to just go, you know, get a bunch of donations just to get taken care of. If we were living in Canada, all they had to do is just go into the hospital. They would have been taken care of. No, you know, no questions asked, all expenses paid.
Right. Yeah, and so, honestly, him being able to speak on that and not knowing that the misunderstanding was addressed right away, like I said, lets me know his communication with his family. And honestly, like, I have way more other things to focus on. So, like, I'm not really, you know, concerned with his involvement with his family. I mean, that's something that he's going to have to, you know, eventually hear about or deal with.
Right.
So, and I'm good with the family now and the young man. I mean, his uncle and his dad, I've spoken to both of them. And as long as I'm good with them, honestly, that's all that matters to me. If Larry wants to be upset because what the community's concerns are, and they're bringing them to me, and they want answers, or, you know what I mean? Because Larry, obviously, he's just he's communicating. It sounds like he's communicating with his family just as much as he's communicating with the community. So, I mean, that's something that he's going to have to deal with, you know?
No, I think you're right. Essentially, it's he's just carrying it on farther than what it needs to be carried on with. I am still concerned about that other kid, though. I kind of want to just look him up to see how he's doing, because that wouldn't be fair if one, you know, was getting a bunch of financing and one got taken care of and the other one didn't. That wouldn't be cool.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it is. I mean, it kind of does have to do with Larry, the fact that he's done a lot of fundraising and, you know, stuff for his campaign and for other things. I believe, you know, previously that they were able to contact other donors or even, you know, other donors or people that have contributed before. I'm sure that they stepped up, which I think is beautiful, you know, that they stepped up and donated, and he was able to obtain that amount in a short amount of time. I think that's wonderful.
Right.
But we need to also focus and make sure that the people that are in need are being addressed and serviced as well. And that's all I'm standing for and trying to make a point is that I'm the voice of the weak, and I will try to fight and service and make sure that they're being, you know.
Because that was what I had thought. I didn't even read any of this stuff. I guess it was all taken down or whatever by the time I checked it out. But my impression was that you were just saying since he's the elite, since he's, you know, higher up in the community, that one was being taken care of more than the other. And I don't think that criticism is wrong. I don't think that negates, you know, you could still care about the kid, but also realize that they're getting a preferential treatment versus this other kid who doesn't have any connections. So I don't think that's incorrect. I don't think it's wrong, and to exaggerate it to make it seem like you were saying something bad about the kid, I think that's wrong. I mean, he used the city council bully pulpit, so he got on he's sitting up there on top of on those chairs, and the people that are watching and paying attention to what's going on in the city of Pueblo, they all got to hear it. They all got to hear that, you did something. They don't know for sure exactly what, but Larry wasn't happy with it. But that's
ridiculous because honestly, I would make sure to gather all my facts before I'd address any type of situation, just to avoid looking like an idiot. Because, like I said,
I don't think what you did was wrong. If anything, what it comes down to, it just seems like you said something that got under some people's skin because it was true.
Well, they better get used to it because I'm going to do a lot of things that are probably going to get under their skin, and it wouldn't get under their skin the wrong way if they weren't wrong. So.
Right. And then the fact that you're running for city council, you're the only one so far that's running for city council at large. So Lori Winter probably will jump into it, so you'll have to face her eventually. But so far and so I think that puts you in a privileged position that just when you talk about an issue and people are going to notice. So I think that's, if anything, it validates my understanding of politics. Because I mean, who are you? You're a citizen who said something. Yeah, you're trying to get the power, but you're just a private citizen. So some private citizen said something about somebody, and now it's a big, controversy. It's like, oh, get out of here, man. And then what you said was true. So
they need to be focusing. They have. I'm sure. Honestly, they have so many other things they need to be focusing on.
Yeah.
Seriously, I need to go in there and probably show them how to prioritize. But things that they're wasting their time and energy on is honestly absolutely ridiculous, and is actually the fire behind my campaign. So I'm going to let them continue to do what they do, and I'm going to continue to do what I do. And I'm super excited to let the community see, where I'm at and where other people are at.
I think that's exactly right. That's a good segue for, I don't know, hopefully, I'll keep you for 5 or 10 more minutes. But just talk about your biggest, what are your biggest planks to your platform? What are issues that are more important than all this sort of silly gossip bullshit?
Okay, so I actually have stepped out last night because I got back into town, and again, there was gun violence. There was cops called. So my top issues, I believe, is where the focus needs to be within the heroin epidemic, the gun violence, and the suicide.
Yeah.
Also, right now, another issue that's, in front of us is the euthanization rate over at the animal shelter. And I know for a fact that wonderful citizens of this community are very concerned and bringing these concerns to the city council. And the council is showing favor on the other side. And the only one who is standing ground and standing with the people is Chris Nickel, and I admire him for that. And I'm grateful, Pueblo has Chris Nickel to stand with them at this time, considering the fact that the city council I feel like they are not spending any time or energy or consideration on this animal shelter situation that, taxpayers are bringing to them.
What would be your solution for the unwanted animals, the animals that are diseased and sick and nobody's adopting them?
So when I was at the first meeting, I've learned that we actually take in animals from other states. And I believe until we can resolve this issue, that needs to stop, because we can't even take care of the animals that are already here, number one. And number two, we also, the association or the animal shelter, I guess, is ran by Springs. So we're already in ties with Springs. But there's other cities and towns all over this state that we are probably not utilizing. I'm sure there's someone in Rocky Ford or a small, little town like Rye that someone would like a dog, and I just feel like we are not utilizing, basic resources and ideas.
No, I'm glad that you care about animals. Jeffrey Dahmer, he started out by torturing cats. He would torture and kill cats, and then that wasn't good enough for him, and then he had to move up. So I feel like how you treat animals is how you'll treat people.
Exactly, and especially because they don't have a voice, and whatever their conditions are, honestly, isn't under their control. So we, like I said, just like weak humans, and they don't have a voice.
Right.
Neither do those animals.
Because I'm sitting there kind of actually putting two things together. I'm thinking, God, you could just put like a little animal park out. I mean, we got all this desert land and just, tumbleweeds, and it goes on for miles. So there's land for there to be like a little pet park, but then you could also have a homeless park too, and then you'd be giving the homeless some pets, and then they'd have a buddy, they'd have a friend. So it makes me think about the homeless. I mean, we have a lot of problems amongst as humans, and so when it comes to the homeless, I wonder if they have a sort of euthanizing mentality for the homeless. Would people rather see them get euthanized instead of actually seeing them get a house and move on up and do something in the world?
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. Just because there are people that dedicate their everyday life and all their extra time to this issue and to animals that are doing research and that have the time, to do all that are actually more educated on all these subjects as far as the animals go, that are the ones that are reporting back to me with their concerns and with the responses of the city council. So they're completely involved. They're educated. They have ideas. They have resolutions. But the city council wouldn't know because they're not listening to them. And they're not willing to sit down and say, hey, look, I understand you're upset. Let's sit down and see what we can figure out. They're not doing that. So they're not going to hear the great ideas. They're not going to hear, the alternatives or,
Well, you would have to care. You'd have to care, and then you'd have to have a will to see them move up. You'd have to care, and then you'd have to get the power and push, So I think sometimes they don't care, or they just don't want to try, or, it's just easier just to kind of walk past people.
Yeah, when you are in a position of power and you have, I just feel like if you're in power and you have other priorities or other things come before the city, then you're in the wrong seat.
Well, you once said something about it's a conflict of interest to be rich and powerful, and I'm not for sure about the legal argument, but I think, like, in general, yeah, of course. If you're rich and powerful, then, and if you don't care about the people, then you're just going to be like, Trump. You're just going to make sure all your Wall Street buddies are getting rich, and Trump wouldn't even get any poor people into his economic cabinet. So he said, rich people, they clearly know what they're doing, so he's going to get all these rich people into his thing. But poor people, you don't think they understand, if anything, they're the ones that get the brunt of capitalism. They're the ones that get, hit the hardest.
Yeah, because the last thing that my people are, they may be poor and they may be in unfortunate situations, but the last thing that my people are is stupid.
Right.
My people are smart. They can see what's going on. It's pretty clear to them, and through repeated history and current actions and behaviors, it's pretty plain to see. And if you can't see it and you don't want to do nothing about it, then you're part of the problem.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And actually, I would think the opposite. I would think, like, with it being a conflict, if you're rich and powerful, you need to live on the streets. You need to live in poor, dilapidated shacks. You need to, barely have enough pocket lint to get some hot dogs so you could survive for the next weekend. Rich and powerful people, if anything, the poor understand how important money and economics is and how we need to give a damn, whereas the rich and powerful, they've been screwing people over, their whole lives. What are they going to bring to the table? They're not going to say, look, we need to make sure everybody gets, a seat at the table, everybody has food to eat. They're going to say, this is how we get more money for ourselves, and who cares about anyone else?
Exactly.
I
They
want,
don't know
yeah,
what to do for the people because they've never felt that pain or felt that struggle.
right,
And you know, what would be great is that even if they were, you know, rich and powerful or whatever, the fact that they would be able to like bring themselves down and like go and interact with the homeless people and go with the homeless people to where they're living. I went to a little homeless village, a secret homeless village here in Pueblo. You know, I'm the one that's, you know, in the field, and I honestly believe, and one day I hope it will change, but I believe that if you're going to serve on that seat, it should be a duty and a requirement for you to be involved in the community and put in the footwork, and get down and dirty and get down and be very intensive with the people that are hurting of Pueblo.
right. I don't think that, let's see, is it like a tent city? Is that what you're saying? Homeless, there's like tent cities?
Yeah.
That's, no, that's, I think that's absolutely right. It makes me think of like the saying, like, you don't want a handout, you don't want someone else fighting for you, but then you also don't want for people to not care. I think the best place for a community leader to be is like, you know, I'm not going to be above you, I'm not going to be below you, I'm going to be right by your side.
Exactly. And that's what it is I do not want to be above anybody. I don't want to move ahead without my people.
Nice. That makes me think of another little cool saying. It's instead of you don't want to rise above your people, you want to rise with your people.
Right.
Cool. So can we expand on those other 3 platform planks? Because I think those are very important too. Teen suicide. Hasn't there been like 5 or 6 Pueblo counties that killed themselves, teens?
Yeah, within a matter of 5 months, yeah.
Yeah, what the hell is going on? Pueblo, it doesn't seem like is it all the radon? I mean, what the hell is going on? Why are these kids not seeing any hope? That's when you kill yourself, you basically don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, and you end it. So what's the problem? What's the problem?
Yeah, like, again, here I am speaking to these kids, you know. I'm related to some of these kids and the other kids, you know. I'm just asking. These kids are being bullied, and there was also a game going around. And it just lets me know that, number one, these kids don't have the love and support that they are needing, which could be from a bunch of different reasons. You know, maybe the parents are working too much, or, you know, the parents aren't involved like they're supposed to.
Right.
So that's one thing. But also the fact that they don't have the resources or even a city to accommodate their boredom. You know what I mean? So what I like to remember is that how, you know, me, because I'm just like every person. I believe that's something that everybody, you know, it's a natural thing to maybe think that in bad times.
Yeah.
But one thing that I will always remember is that an idling mind is the devil's playground.
Yeah.
So it's pretty dangerous for these kids to have a summer with no available activities. We definitely need to step it up as a community, and as adults, to be able to accommodate and serve, you know, the youth of Pueblo. That's what I believe.
Are there enough recreation centers? Do they have like I guess you have to pay for all those. I'm wondering what could kids do in the summer, because I think there's a combination of things. I don't think it's just that they're bored and have nothing else to do with. I think it's oppression. I think that there's people have really bad home lives, and then they go to school, and I heard that the schools, they don't have air conditioners.